What's up, guys? We're in the warehouse today. It's DJ Rick Web, and we're talking about the Both Lighting USA 360 tubes. In particular, I want to talk about all the customary different ways that you can actually mount these. They're not just for putting straight up and down behind your booths. There's many different ways you can mount these, and that's what we're going to talk about today in this video. All right, so you all know the Both Lighting 360 tubes already. They're big, they're long, they're awesome. Big end, small end. One of the things that's underutilized on this is that both ends of the tube have a 1/4-20 thread port, which for y'all that don't know is actually the standard tripod mount that you use for most of your cameras. There's one here on the bottom, right there, and there's the one on the top. This opens up possibilities for so many different ways to actually mount these. Included with your 360 tubes when you buy them is these eye bolts. These alone open up so many possibilities. You can screw the eye bolts to the bottom, to the top, and now you have mounting points that you can hang these from. Whether that's hanging them with magnets or hanging them with zip ties or safety cables, there's many ways to hang them. So I can have this eye bolt at the top right here, take my safety cable, clip that in, and now I can hang this tube from the ceiling. I can hang it from trussing. There's a lot of different ways you can actually utilize these now. Now, of course, that 1/4-20 thread on the bottom also works with all the different stand and feet options that come with the 360 tubes or that you can purchase from additional items. So, of course, you have the tripod feet that collapse. These come with the tubes themselves. You simply just screw them in right here, and then you're going to want to use the included Allen key to tighten these down. Do not just screw them down by hand. Use the Allen key, that way your feet stay nice and solid. If your feet flop together, you need to tighten this bolt down with the Allen key when they're unscrewed. So that right there will now give you a nice foot mount to hold your tubes. The other things that we can use to hold them up are our stand options. So right here I have the Both Lighting USA 360 tube stands right here. They break down into 3 different parts. You have a base plate, a middle, and a top, and they are extendable. So if I put this down right here, you can, let me come up here. You have the base plate, you have a middle section right here. This unscrews right here in the middle. And then you have the top extendable piece. And basically you just unscrew this collar right here. And now you can extend this up and you can get your tubes roughly about 5 feet off the ground with these stands. And then of course the tubes themselves are about 4 foot long. So this is gonna get you 9 feet in the air when the tubes are on these. So let me take these off real quick and I will show you guys what that looks like. Very simple, again, 1/4-20 thread on the bottom here. And I gotta back up in the camera shot because y'all can't even see how high these are. I think y'all can see, but they're all the way up there. And you can slide them down, slide them up. I had to move the camera so you guys can get a better shot, but yeah, they are way up there in the air. All right, so we got a tape measure real quick. We'll see how high up these are. So it is 5'3", 5'3" to the bottom of the actual stand, fully extended. And then the tubes themselves give you another 4'8". So we are currently 9'11" in the air at the very top of it, almost 10 feet in the air to the very top of the tubes. Super high up. And I know one of the biggest concerns a lot of people have with these tubes, stands exactly, is them falling over. And I will say, they are not the most stable thing in the world. You definitely should put these on like a sandbag on the bottom if you're gonna have these in a congested area. But for the most part, with a lot of our setups, these are being placed behind my setup. And I actually don't recommend putting these all the way up on every single one of them. You can, but if you put these up against a wall, the odds of someone knocking into this and knocking it over when it's lit up is very little. But again, we can kind of smack this around a little bit and it's not falling over. Still comes back straight. And overall, the actual tube itself is only 6 pounds. So it's not the end of the world if it does fall over. In a more congested area, I would recommend putting it down on the lower height here because now it's right at my basically visual point to see the light, and it's way more stable when it's at the lower standpoint. Now, these are not the only tube stands that are available on the market. You could also use microphone stands with adapters to do that. I find that the microphone stands, the actual stand portion, at least on the cheaper ones, is a little more wobbly. The base plate is heavier though, but it still is about the same stability. But now we also have the Bun Gear quad pods. Now, very similar concept to the both lighting stands, but we do have a thicker pole for more rigid. And the feet are a tripod type, which allows you to basically take these apart and it makes for easier storage. So it's a simple screw on the bottom. You can unscrew these. That comes out. Both of these store separately. A little bit more compact on the storage portion of it. And this pole by itself stays together. So there's no actual third pole that you need to assemble. You just got to put these together, screw the nice hand nut on the bottom, and we're good to go. And then again, these are also adjustable. So we'll back up, get this in the frame. Little side by comparison. You can see that these ones are a little bit thicker. So we'll put the tube on them, raise them up. At base height, they are about the same height here. The Bowflighting USA stands are actually a little bit taller, maybe about 4 or 5 inches. We'll screw these on. Looks like it's a little bit more of a snug fit. And then you can raise these quads up in the air. And I actually think they get a little taller, much taller actually. Another 7 inches. So this is now gonna be at 10'6" at the height versus 10 foot here. I will say from a stability standpoint, it's probably about the same. Kind of wish these feet were a little bit bigger on the bottom. They're about the same footprint as the base plate on the both lighting stands. It actually might be a little bit more stable. I do like this thickness of this that adds rigidity to the connection point between the tube and the actual stand. Again, other options we have when it comes to mounting our 360 tubes. So now let's look at some more creative ways with magnets and zip ties. All right, so like I mentioned, we do have the eye bolt ability to put on the end of these, and we can use safety cables to attach them. But one of the coolest things that I've found that you can use is actually magnets to attach these to ceilings. Drop ceilings in particular are really helpful to do this with, and I'll show you guys in our kind of little kitchen area here at the office. Got a couple different magnet options you can look into. These are kind of like cheap magnets you can buy on Amazon. I'll link them down below. You can get carabiners. These are all rated for 20 pounds of weight. Again, the tubes only weigh 6 pounds. Pretty light and easy to do. These magnets are rated for 25 pounds. I also have Click-It system. This is a really cool system that we use to hang like stars and stuff from ceilings. But there's actually this corkscrew. And again, I'll link this system below. But this goes onto any painter pole. So you can buy a 22-foot painter pole and you can put this on it. And the way this Click-It works is it actually allows you to put it inside of there. It's ready to go on the painter tape. You can hang whatever it is that you want to hang off of it with a carabiner, safety cable, etc. You can hang your tube directly from it with an eye bolt. And you can then take this on the end of your painter pole and stick it onto the ceiling. And then it's good. So as soon as it sticks to the ceiling, the magnet portion right here grabs on, you pull this away and you're good to go. Then at the end of the night, you take the same attachment with the corkscrew and you got to eyeball it and go through one of the two kind of nuts here. And then you can pull it off of the ceiling and then it will rest on that corkscrew. Really cool. A lot of people in the industry, especially in the production and the design industry and drapery and stuff, use these Click-It magnet systems. Highly recommend them. We have like 50 something of these. We use them all the time when we're doing ceiling type stuff because we don't have to get a bunch of ladders out. But you can use these to hang your tubes. Now, you can hang it vertically like this, off of just that eye bolt right there. Or a lot of times I like to put one on both sides and then you can hang it along ceiling tiles. I'll insert some footage from Midwest DJs Live. We made some really, really cool designs on the ceiling of the after party spots with, I think we used like 16 of these tubes in the ceilings, and we had a drop ceiling. I think the ceiling height was roughly about 10 feet. So we just went up there with a ladder and we magnet attached all of these around basically the drop ceiling. I will say in that situation, we had a lot of bass, a lot of speakers involved. I was not 100,000% confident in the magnets. So I also put a safety cable and some zip ties around all my connections, connecting them a little bit more secure to the actual drop ceiling in case something were to happen. But again, that's why we have liability insurance. That's why we do things correctly. Make sure you guys have insurance when you're doing these types of things with custom designs, especially when you get into anything ceiling related. Consult the engineers that design the ceiling, consult engineers when you're rigging stuff up. Highly recommend it. So that's my disclaimer. All right, so now let's go and I will show you guys how these can magnetically attach to a standard drop ceiling that you might find in most venues. All right, so conveniently here in our little kitchen area in our warehouse, I have a lower drop ceiling so I don't have to get a ladder out. But I can attach this to the drop ceiling bars like so. And then I can attach this one. It is a little bit of a stretch for me. Now I can attach it with those magnets. So as you guys can see, right there I have the magnet attached with a carabiner. As you can see, I can knock this tube around a lot. It ain't going nowhere. The tube itself only weighs 6 pounds, which allows for a lot of cool, creative ways to do it. And I actually like this versus a rigid mount because it allows for flexibility with the magnets, vibrations, and keeps them from completely falling off. Again, just 2 eye bolts on the ends, some connections, and voila, you have yourself a tube on the ceiling. And you can do all kinds of creative designs like this. Like I said, you also can hang them vertically. Of course, you're gonna want a taller ceiling like what we have out in the main area. But again, as you can see, Tank is impressed that you can hang a tube from a ceiling. And you can imagine if you got some different lengths of safety cables, it doesn't have to be magnetic, but if you got some different lengths of safety cables, such as like in our warehouse here, we have I-beam structures above. So we could go up there in the ceiling. We did a really cool kind of party we threw for a bunch of vendors, and we hung 6 tubes from the ceiling using safety cables. And you can create different designs, different heights, and variations with those tubes. And probably one of the coolest things is those tubes are now pixel mappable, wireless DMX. They're battery powered, have tons of battery, especially if you put them on standby. You can literally put them up there the day before, leave them on standby, come back the next day, and still run them for like 8 hours with no problem. So just another way from a creativity standpoint, you can utilize your 360 tubes to do more than just have them on some stands around and behind your actual setup. You can do stuff in the ceiling, you can hang them, and probably one of my favorite things is just to zip tie them to different structures and things. So one of the most popular things is trussing. So I got some trussing behind me here. I'm gonna show you guys how I zip tie it. Right here, I have a piece of trussing. This trussing is right now in a totem position, but it could be hung vertically. We mount tubes to the bars, just like this. Now you can mount it in this orientation, you can mount it in this orientation, you can mount it vertically, whatever you want to do. But all we do is take some zip ties, get some nice commercial grade zip ties, and I just run them around the mounting points. And normally it works best when you have a second person to help you out, but today we're doing it alone. So you just get one on there to start, and then you'll finish it off with a second one. So I normally get it centered up, get a second zip tie on right here, and then we just tighten them down, you cinch them down a little bit to get more of an angle on them. And of course you can use clear zip ties so they're not showing through. I would recommend getting clear zip ties. I have black ones laying around to shoot this video with. So that right there is kind of one of my favorite ways to utilize the tubes, is just to zip tie them to things. You can do the same thing if there are posts in the venue. If there's posts vertically, you can zip tie them to them. Again, tubes weigh 6 pounds a piece. There are plenty of options when it comes to zip ties. This is considered a low weight thing that you need to hang. Tons of options, highly recommend. I mean, you got the feet, you got the stand options, you got safety cables with the eye bolts. You put eye bolts in the end of them. But the biggest factor is your limitations with mounting these tubes are practically endless. With each end of that tube being a 1/4 thread, that's the same thread that's found in all tripod mounting, camera mounts, everything along those lines. In the camera world, there's all kinds of different things you can use, from these right here, these little like gorilla pod things you can use. That's a 1/4 thread on the end. That'll thread right into your Both Lighting USA 360 tubes. There's so many different options, guys. But at least from my perspective, the biggest things I like to do are zip tying them to truss. I like doing ceiling hangs when I have the right ceiling to work with, whether that's going up there with safety cables, which is what I prefer to use, and actually mounting them to different structures, like in here we got the I-beams, or utilizing the magnets on drop ceilings tends to work really well for me as well. And that's a lot of the things that we're doing with our company to hang these tubes and really get our the maximum amount of money we can get for these tubes that we have. I'd rather be using them constantly than not using them at all. And they are just such a wow factor to utilize at your events. That right there is 360 tubes. That's all the different ways you can mount them that I know of right now. Leave in the comments section down below what options you like, and also what options are you guys using to hang your 360 tubes. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep the record spinning, guys. Peace.